To the formal meeting of the Salt Lake City Council for August 29th, 2017. We've had a we need to make a slight adjustment to our agenda. We were planning on having the Salt Lake City Fire Department conduct the flag ceremony and the Pledge of Allegiance, but we have several members of our Salt Lake City Fire Department who were planning to be here tonight as a part of the flag ceremony, but are unable to be here because they've traveled to Houston to take part in the search and rescue operations there as part of Utah Task Force 1. And we are very grateful that we have such great members of our police or our fire department who are representing Salt Lake City in Houston during this very, very difficult time there. So we're grateful for their bravery, and we hope that they stay safe, and will bring our love and concern and share with that to the people of Houston and all the other towns that are impacted by Hurricane Harvey. So at this point, I will ask all of you to stand with the council and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So as we work through the agenda tonight, there are a couple of things that I just we mention at the beginning of every meeting. During our public comment sections, we ask that everybody remain courteous and listen to individuals who are going to be joining us and speaking to the council. We ask that you don't cheer, boo, jeer, or do anything that could be construed as making somebody uncomfortable. We want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and that this is an environment where people are comfortable sharing their opinions and beliefs with members of the council. So tonight I will look for a motion for the approval of the work session and formal meeting minutes of Tuesday, August 8th, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. I also want to take this moment to excuse council members Lisa Adams and Derek Kitchen from the formal meeting. Derek has another engagement. He was with us for the work session, and Councilmember Lisa Adams is in New York welcoming her new grandchild. So at this point, I would like to turn the time over to the Salt Lake City Fire Department to formally recognize several members of our community for their efforts. John Fidel and Alexa Fine will be awarded the Citizen Medal of Commendation by Fire Chief Lieb on behalf of the Salt Lake City Fire Department. So we'll start there.
Thank you, Councilmember Luke. Thank you, the Greater Council. Thank you, Mayor Biskupski, for being here. Chief of Staff Leary, I appreciate it. I also want to welcome community members, obviously, and the firefighters that are also in the room today to show their support. Most all of us have witnessed the recovery efforts that have been going on in Houston, Texas over the last 4 days. There are literally thousands of first responders in that region right now. And as Councilmember Luke alluded to, we have 10 of our own there right now. In the coming weeks, there will undoubtedly be more headed that direction. These individuals are trained and they have the resources to mitigate incidents just like this. But that is not enough. It turns out that the community is now becoming involved. And what you're seeing in Houston right now is the residents of the city and the suburbs are all coming together to take part in the rescue effort. And they do this because they feel compelled to be a part of it and to help and to do something. So they are not technically trained, however, and they do not have the resources. But what they do share with the first responders that are there right now is that they have a desire to make a difference. The 4 people that join us today felt the same way. In 2 unique incidents, they witnessed a need and did not hesitate to go into action. Tonight, the Salt Lake City Fire Department honors these individuals who stepped up, went above and beyond when they witnessed a fellow citizen in need, and we think it is notable. The Staker Quarry vehicle accident. I'd like to ask the following individuals to please stand and come forward to my left. Clint Leak and Tony Herrera. I'll come right over here, Clint. Thanks, John. On March 8th, 2016, a dump truck overturned at the Staker Quarry location here in Salt Lake City. The vehicle unexpectedly went into the water below. 5 Staker Quarry employees were close enough to witness the accident and immediately took action to assist their coworker, the driver of the vehicle. 2 of these employees, Clint Leak and Neilio Taylor, were identified as having put themselves at great personal risk to assist their coworker. They entered the water and worked to retrieve their coworker from the submerged vehicle, working tirelessly to free him from the machine. One of the firefighters on site commented that he wondered whether he could have or would have done the same thing had he had been there in their place. Salt Lake City Fire Department firefighters who responded to this call will tell you that this scene was beyond tragic, and the actions put forth by these individuals to save their coworker were indeed heroic. For their efforts, Clint Leak and Neilio Taylor, in absentee, will each be awarded the Citizen Heroism Medal. Paul Candelaria, in absentee, Tony Herrera, and Gary Erickson, also an absentee, will be awarded the Fire Chief's Recognition Medal, all on behalf of the Salt Lake City Fire Department. Thank you. Either of you like to just say a few words?
Thank you for this great honor. I only believe that we did what we did, just humanity, you know, pure humanity. You don't even think, you just react. And that's all I really have to say, but thank you.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. That's good.
The Greystone apartment pool incident. On August 6, 2016, a group of friends were enjoying a good time at their apartment pool. John Fidel and Alexa Fine were also at the pool, enjoying some leisure time, when they heard the group calling for help because a friend had gone underwater. John and Alexa immediately jumped to action. They assisted in recovering the patient from the water, then began CPR. By the time the Salt Lake City Fire Department crews arrived, the patient had regained consciousness. From there, John and Alexa provided the crew with professional and concise report of the actions and continued to assist until the patient had been successfully loaded for transport to the hospital. One of the paramedic firefighters on scene remarked, quote, "I have zero doubt that their intervention was key to the patient's survival." For their efforts, John Fidel and Alexa Fine, who I'll ask to come up to my left, please. Thank you. Will each be awarded the Citizen Commendation Medal on behalf of the Salt Lake City Fire Department. Thank you.
Well, like I was saying before, Lex and I are medical professionals. I'm a firefighter, paramedic myself. She's a physician assistant, PA, but now we can call her a paramedic assistant as well. But the real award is actually seeing Sam back here. And, you know, seeing him walking around, making perfectly good sentences and everything, that's the real award right there, and really making a difference in somebody's life. So, thank you for this, and just doing our job.
Yeah, I think John's my best friend here, and seeing him start running, I knew I immediately needed to start running. Again, seeing Sam is probably one of the coolest things. I've thought about him a lot over the past year and had no idea how to reach out to him or find him, but just being able to assist John in CPR and seeing how cool and calm and collected he was. I knew he saves lives every day in his job as a firefighter, but just to see him outside and just being there to help him through that was definitely a unique experience, and I'm glad to say that we were there, the right moment, the right time, and that Sam's here with us today. So thank you so much.
I want to add one comment for Sam. Sam told me just prior to this that not only can he do a complete sentence, he is having a banner year in his small business, and so congratulations.
That concludes our short ceremony. Thank you, council members, for allowing us to have a little time for this very worthy time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Lieb. This is something that in my time on the council, anytime we have citizen ceremonies like this, it's great. There is so much negativity that we see anytime we turn the TV on, anytime we watch the news or read the paper. It is always great to see that, we know that our first responders in Salt Lake City and elsewhere are well-trained and great, but anytime that there are stories of regular residents like we are able to stand up and really do something remarkable, reminds me how good and how much great and goodness there still is. So thank you for your efforts, and again, to our first responders, thank you for all you do. We'll now move to item B on our agenda. We have a couple of public hearings tonight. The first one is an ordinance regarding small-scale food production text amendment. If there are any cards for this public hearing, let me know. Staff is shaking their head, so I don't think we have any cards. If there is anybody in the audience interested in speaking to the small-scale food production text amendment, let me know. Seeing none, I will look for a motion from the council.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close this public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Rogers. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes, and the item is, the public hearing is closed, and the item is deferred to a future meeting. Our second public hearing is regarding the Northwest Quadrant agricultural zoning text amendment, and I don't have any cards for this one either. Is there anybody in the audience interested in speaking about the Northwest Quadrant agricultural zoning text amendment? Seeing none, I'll look to the council.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. The public hearing is closed, and the item is deferred to a later date. We're now to Section C on our agenda on potential action items. Our first tonight is an ordinance, the building benchmarking and market transparency.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion that the council adopt an ordinance enacting 18.94 of the Salt Lake City Code, creating a requirement for building energy benchmarking and market transparency in large municipal and private buildings.
Second.
Great. Motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, second by Councilmember Penfold. Any discussion to this ordinance? Hearing none.
I've got one.
Oh,
Oh, then
okay.
I probably do
I was
too.
just
Councilmember
waiting. I was
Rogers.
just waiting to have to give everybody some suspense, right? I think I'm the only one here who is an owner of a building that's larger than 24,000 square feet. The way that I look at it is this is a let me hit you with a club first mentality instead of a carrot approach. I would feel much more comfortable about setting benchmarks for us to achieve over a time frame. We're doing it with our solar energy that we're looking at, or we've done it through our funding or the raising of our utility bills through our sewer and water. So I think that just doing this initially to do it is the wrong way to do it. We're going to have Big Brother come to us anyway and kill it up in the legislature. This is not a good way for us to enact an ordinance or put it into place when it's just going to get killed anyway. I'd much rather see us work our way up to it, and I think that we're taking the wrong approach at it. Well, we'll see it at the legislature. So, I mean, if we're just doing it to do it and say, hey, this is a feel-good moment, I hope everyone feels good.
Thank you, Councilmember Rogers. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I am opposed.
Okay, so the motion passes with 4 in support and 1 opposed. Our second ordinance up for potential action is the fine-tuning of zoning code amendments. I'll look to the council for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt an ordinance amending various sections of Title 21A zoning of the Salt Lake City Code to provide additional clarity and efficiency in land use regulation.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion to this ordinance? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. I'm going to look to staff quickly. So our third ordinance that we have for action, I think we're going to, we will skip this. We will take action at a later date because there are still some items that need to be addressed. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's our understanding.
Okay, and that's also so it's for item 3, which is the
street
closure at 740 North, 800 West, and also item 4, which is the resolution 800 North and 800 West,
Which are related, right?
which are related.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll defer action on these to a future date. Which brings us to item D, which is comments, questions to the mayor from the city council. And I thought, where did the mayor go? She was here. Okay, I guess the mayor has stepped out. So do we have any questions to either Chief of Staff Patrick Leary or Deputy Chief of Staff David Litvack?
Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Penfold.
At the end of our briefing session, the mayor shared with us that we've received some information concerning the airport tracks proposal. So, and I think that may have already been transmitted to us, but I'm not aware yet. When do you anticipate we would see that, Patrick?
So the mayor had received a phone call during the briefing from Mr. Benson at the UTA saying that he had no qualms about sharing the information. By the time we got that message, everyone from UTA had gone home, so we're going to get info tomorrow morning, and we'll get that to you tomorrow.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions? All right, this brings us to the comments to the city council. This is our open public comment portion of the meeting. If anyone is interested in speaking to the council, fill out a yellow card and hand it to one of our staff members. If you could raise your hands over here. The rules for this are similar to the ones that I just said. You know, no booing, jeering, cheering. We want to make sure that it's an open, comfortable environment. And there is a 2-minute time limit for this. The reason for the 2-minute limit is to ensure that everybody in the public has an opportunity to speak and that we have enough time and that we're not here until 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you are interested in speaking, just fill one of these cards out. I have 4 cards. The first is from Douglas Cotant, followed by Ron Love.
Good evening, members of the City Council. This past Saturday, I was on my way to the Chatalama on 744 South 8th East. And, I mean, 744 for East 8 South. I got off the bus at 4 South and 9th East and was walking down the sidewalk when suddenly I felt a bump on my back, and there was a young fellow who hit me with his bicycle. As a result, I fell down, and fortunately, he lifted me up, and he asked me if I was all right, and all he said was, "I'm sorry, man." And so then I went on to Chatalama, and then went home, and then I thought about it. I should have called the police, but I'm going to let it slide this time. And I was wondering if Officer Hanson would want to hear this. I'm going to let this slide this time, but if this guy does it again, there's a possibility I may have him arrested. Because I understand that there is an ordinance against bicycle riding on the sidewalk. And if there is, why is it not being enforced?
Time?
Yay.
Thank you, Mr. Cotant. Ron Love, followed by Calvin Fors.
My name is Ron Love, and before I make my comments, I would like to thank each of you for your service. An old friend of mine, Tom Godfrey, used to tell me that his time on the council, one of the most difficult things for him was to sit up here, do his job as well as he could, and then go home, turn on the news, and hear what people had to say, as if he were some kind of a villain. As Councilperson Luke referred to earlier, we just don't have enough of those good sorts of things. We get the difficult stuff, or the dirty stuff. On the 20th of June, I was traveling in my new truck, the second new vehicle I've ever owned in my life, on 300 West, and at Target, approximately 1,000 South, a small Chevrolet with Iowa plates ran a stop sign, clobbered my truck, turned it 270 degrees, knocked it up on two wheels to where I had enough time to think about whether I'm going to fall sideways or land on four wheels. I landed on four wheels without my rear axle attached and without my drive line attached, blocking the entire northbound lanes of 300 West. Of course, the first call I made was to the police department to report the accident. The second call to my insurance company. Almost immediately, a tow truck sent by my insurance company came. Just before that, an ambulance showed up, although I had told them that I didn't think there were any injuries after checking with the driver of the other vehicle.
Time.
I was told that I would have wait 2 hours for the police to come. 2 hours later, I was told I would have to wait 3 to 4 hours. There was never a police report on this because the police never showed up. The individual who hit me and did $21,000 worth of damage had only $15,000 in liability insurance. I've been through a mess for the past few months without a police report. Of course, I have suggestions about that. But if we are really having officers carrying guns to investigate every accident in this city, perhaps we could change that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love. If you would be interested, we could have you speak with a member of our staff. This is not the first time that we've heard of an incident like this. And so if you wouldn't mind talking to Sam, maybe. I saw Sam there. So if you could talk to Sam and give him some more of the details, this is something that I'm personally interested in looking into. So thank you. Calvin Fors, followed by James Berenson, and Mr. Berenson's card is the last card that I have. So if there's anyone else interested in speaking, fill one of these yellow cards out and hand it to a member of our staff. Mr. Fors.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Calvin Fors. I am a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, and also a representative of all these fine folks that are here with me today. I'm here to voice an opinion on the proposed generous lease of land to the Good Samaritan Foundation for the purpose of building a community center to benefit the needs of the large immigrant community. While we applaud the effort to provide financial advantage to those involved in such a facility, the funds proposed by the Good Samaritan Foundation at $300,000, the LDS Humanitarian Services at $300,000, the Dumke Foundation at $185,000, and the U of U go to building and maintaining the center. We ask that more thought be given to the contractors chosen for this project. While the general contractor may be a responsible company, numerous subs in this town participate in fraudulent payroll practices that give them an unfair advantage. This needs to be addressed both legislatively and judicially. You need to give the dog some teeth. A responsible contractor, those that we represent and those that we work for, provide good wages, health care, retirement, training, and job opportunities that can benefit the new members of this community as well as those that are already here. The Utah Code, Title 10-8-2, Section 3, letter E, paragraph 3, and if I may paraphrase, says whether the appropriation is necessary and appropriate to accomplish the goals and objectives of a municipality in areas of economic development, job creation, affordable housing, and job preservation. I think that's pretty much what this boils down to. If you're going to build something, you're going to provide a means for these people to become part of the community, but let's not alienate those that are already part of the community and those that would be building the facility themselves. If you're giving it to people that are doing the cash pay, they're not paying taxes back into it, and the money just stops. It just dies right there. These projects can do all those things provided the right controls, contracts, and laws are in place to ensure responsible contractors are on the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fors. James Berenson, and Mr. Berenson's card is the last card that I have.
Bring your football pads, boss. Last time I come up here and speak, I was trying to say a certain thing, and I guess I wasn't too eloquent the way I said it. There was a little piece of paper, it was called the Declaration of Independence. It's similar to something maybe you know or don't know called the Magna Carta. Anyway, in that small little piece of paper, it says all citizens have God-given inalienable rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Yet you will not allow people to speak and make points. You limit that. So you supersede God with your power and deprive citizens of their rights. After the meeting, you have your red guards come out and threaten me with physical violence, incarceration, and exile. If that's not tyranny, I don't know what is. I know this country's going down a bad place, but what is it? A tyranny or a democratic republic? Please, I would like to know these things. Of course. You say ask your minions to do these things. I tried that. They don't do it. So I don't know why you guys keep saying that. Get people off your case, maybe? Who knows? Trump pulled out of the Paris Accord agreement, but now I notice that states are starting to recognize their 9th and 10th Amendment in the Bill of Rights, and they're starting to supersede these Paris Agreement type taxes on the people here. I don't understand that. Where were these 9th and 10th Amendments when Obamacare was in place? States could have pulled out, but no, they all choose to follow the herd. Why do these things that just hurt the people now? Of course, you guys cannot speak, and
Time?
yes, of course, I have to walk off because time went off, but other people can well exceed the time limit.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Berenson.
I doubt that.
That concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. We will now move to item E on our agenda, which is new business. We have one item, which is the resolution adopting the canvass of the Salt Lake City primary election 2017.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council and mayor acting as the Board of Canvassers accept and approve the results of the municipal primary election held in Salt Lake City, Utah on August 15, 2017.
Second.
Great. A motion by Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Johnston as the Board of Canvassers. Any discussion to this motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted unanimously. We do not have any unfinished business on our agenda, which takes us to item G, which is our consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Motion by Councilmember Rogers.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. The consent agenda is adopted. Before we adjourn, I want to turn the time over to our council staff, Jennifer, for announcements.
So we have one little piece of clarification maybe for the record. It's not entirely clear if the council needed to recess as the council and convene as the Board of Canvassers before making that motion. So your suggestion is
I'll ask our city attorney, would it be better if we remake that motion and adjourn as the council to the Board of Canvassers?
It would be clear if that motion were made in your capacity as the Board of Canvassers.
All right,
yes.
so I will look to Councilmember Rogers since he made the initial motion.
I made the initial.
Oh, Stan made
motion,
the initial,
actually.
that's correct.
Did we adjourn?
We have not adjourned. We have not
Recess as the
adjourned.
council, convene as the Board of Canvassers.
Yeah, we haven't
We
adjourned the
had not
meeting
yet
yet.
adjourned.
Yeah, I move that we reconvene as the Board of Canvassers.
We got recess first.
Recess as the city council, convene as the board.
Okay, I would
Make a
like to make a
motion.
motion that we recess as the Salt Lake City Council and reconvene as the Board of Canvassers.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? Oh, I'll look for your other motion now. Now that we're
We have to.
We have to
reconvened.
vote on this.
Yeah. So now that we've reconvened as the Board of Canvassers.
We haven't voted on it. We need to vote on that.
Oh, sorry. So any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We are now the Board of Canvassers.
Just like magic. Mr. Chair, I move that the council and the mayor acting as the Board of Canvassers accept and approve the results of the municipal primary election held in Salt Lake City, Utah on August 15th, 2017.
Second?
Great. Motion by Councilmember Penfold, second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes again, and
Mr.
the
Chair.
canvass is adopted.
I move that we adjourn as the Board of Canvassers and reconvene as the Salt Lake City Council.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Penfold, second again by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes, and
Mr.
we
Chair, I
are
move
now
that we adjourn as the Salt Lake City
Now
Council.
first, before we adjourn as the city council, we now go back to the staff
Thank
for
you.
announcements.
Thank you for entertaining us. So just a few announcements. The first is a fact-finding trip to Pittsburgh that was brought to our attention by one of the council members. We've since clarified that the trip is not an official Downtown Alliance trip, but it would visit a vocational training center that focuses on providing job training to low-income individuals. We have a little bit of a cost estimate there for if council members were interested in going. And just didn't know if the council's interested. It would be September 27th through 29th, and it was in Pittsburgh.
Is anybody interested? This is one of those trips that I know that we've had some discussion about. While the idea to me seems, that it's a worthwhile concept, I don't really see how it fits within what the city's responsibilities are in our form of government, and so that's one of the things that kind of jumped up when I looked into this further.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I want to comment that a couple of us, maybe a few of us, went to Pittsburgh last November for NLC, for the city summit there. And so I think if I hadn't just been there and done some city activities, we would be interested, and maybe the Alliance would want to check into our recent travels next time they book one of these.
Cool.
All right.
The next are two items that have been requests for expediting, and so we just wanted to get council feedback on early advertising. Both of the requests are from the applicant, so the applicant is making the request for expediting. The request would just be to early advertise, and Cindy wanted me to make the point that you could hold the public hearing, and it doesn't require that you act at the night of the public hearing. You could always schedule an additional public hearing if you needed more time before action. The first is a Vivint Arena sign overlay zoning text amendment, and I know the petitioner is anxious to have their sign active while the season begins. So that's the time sensitivity on that, and staff has laid out a potential time frame if we were to begin early advertising, so if you were okay with that.
Mr. Chair, and Jennifer, I had requested earlier today, outside council meeting, I know that the state made some modifications to the enabling zoning in the last session, and so I just want to make sure we have access and clarity on what that includes in this process. Assuming we'll have a briefing and all that, we just need to start advertising before we normally would.
Yeah, and that's the issue, and we've made note of those questions. We don't have answers for this discussion, but we would include them in the staff report for that first briefing.
And Jennifer, another question I have is that we've seen several of these, some initiated by the petitioner, some initiated by the administration. I do think it requires a little extra staff effort, so I'm not necessarily opposed to this one, but I'm starting to grow some concern around the additional pressure or stress this might put on the staff workload in doing these sort of repeatedly expedited processes. So
And
I
we
guess that was more of a statement, and I would rely on the staff to let us know if it's becoming an issue or a problem for you.
We can do that, certainly.
Any other Is everyone okay?
Is there any concern with
is everyone
advertising
okay with
early?
expediting that?
I'm not, but it doesn't matter, does it? Unless I'm in a majority here.
It always matters.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie.
All right, and what's the second?
The second one is, relates to Trolley Square. It's a rezoning request to rezone the parcel from RMF 30 to RMU 35. And again, staff has laid out a potential timeline for if you wanted to advertise early, just to get the ball rolling to have a public hearing set.
And this has already gone through the planning commission?
It has.
Okay. Any thoughts on this one? Is everyone okay expediting that? Great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
That's all.
All right, those are the announcements. Now look for a final motion. Okay, move to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you all.